Hello my dear students, today we are going to critically appreciate the poem Still Another View of Grace written by A.K. Ramanujan. Now, before moving on to the poetry and its detailed analysis, a glimpse of who Ramanujan was. So Ramanujan is one of the prolific writers from the Indian writers writing in English community, and he was born on 16th of March 1929 and died on 13th of July 1993. He studied at Indiana University, USA, and was a professor at the University of Chicago. He is known for his modernistic approach in his writings, and because of his such important works, he was awarded the Sahitya Academy Award posthumously. He was also awarded Padma Shri in the year 1976. Now, he is a critic through and through. In all his poems, you will find a critical bent of mind. He is critical towards Indian customs, traditions, and taboos. He talks about them in detail, and he also looks towards the pessimistic side of everything, the things which have not been spoken about till yet. Like in his poem The River, he analyzes the angle of the negative side of a river which has been polluted, because he says that poets generally talk about the beauty of the river, the majesty of the river, the natural aspects of a river, but they do not talk about the reality of the river. Same is here also, he is talking about the reality of life. And in this poem which is about love and lust, about the passions a man feels, about the carnal desires of a man, and then how in Indian tradition it is seen as a sin, it is tried to curb down. So when caught in this dilemma, what the poet will do, or what a person who is caught in between the two, between tradition and modernity, between love and lust, between right and wrong, which path is to be chosen, whether he will sin or whether he will try to maintain his purity and sanity. So that is the poetry all about. So without much ado, let's start with line by line analysis of the poetry. So here we have the poem in front of us. The poem is divided into 4 stanzas, and first 3 stanzas has got 4 lines each, but the last stanza has got a line more, that is, it has got 5 lines. Now coming to the line by line analysis of the poetry. I burned and burned. So he kept on burning with desire. So there is this carnal desire, his passion that he is talking about. He kept on burning with his desires, and one day I turned and caught that though by the screams of her hair, and said, beware, do not follow a gentleman's morals. So he is seeking for lust, and in his inner sense he feels that he is going towards that, he is going towards lust, he is going in search of that. But to overcome that dilemma, one day he suddenly catches her by the hair. Who is this her here? He has personified his desires here. So he sees the desires in the form of a lady, personifying it, and it is a metaphor for, you can say, his pleasures or his desires, his passions are a metaphor for a lady, and he catches her by the hair, telling her to beware of, and telling her to just stop trying to play with the emotions of a gentleman, because a gentleman's morals are to be retained. He cannot dissuade from his path of righteousness. So because he has to stay on his path, because he has to follow his traditional values, he does not want to sway away, and that's why he catches her by the hair, this desire, this lady personified as desire, this desire personified as a lady. He catches her by the hair and says that you must beware, and you must just go away from here, you must not bother me anymore. So with that absurd determined air, find a priest for any beast in the wind for a husband. He will give you a house full of legitimate sons. It is too late for sin. So if you just want to do something full of love, full of passion, if you want to indulge in any kind of such activity, what you can do is get determined, find a priest, find anyone XYZ, any beast in the world to be called as a husband, and get married. And once you're married, you are allowed to then go into the realm of passion, and then you can produce as many children as you want. So that is the tradition which has to be followed. If you want to indulge in any kind of passionate activity, you have to get married. So just get married in order to produce legitimate sons. This is the taboo of Indian, being an Indian, or this is the taboo which has to be practiced being a Hindu, and that he asserts in the very next stanza. Even for treason, and I have no reason to know for your kind, bred Brahmin among singers of shivering hymns, I shudder to the bone at hunger that roamed the street, beyond the constable's beat. But there she stood. So again he is comparing this desire to a prostitute, and he is saying that just like a prostitute who is standing on the road seeking for customers, trying to defy the constables or the policeman's beats, in the same way the passion is trying to dissuade him of his idea of righteousness. And he says that there is no place for treason for him. He cannot dissuade his Hindu characteristic features. Being a Brahmin, born a Brahmin, he is a person who is in charge of praying hymns to God. He is in charge of singing of the shivering hymns. So he is shuddering at the bone at the very thought of committing any crime of that kind, any crime of passion. He is not allowed to commit. It would be a treason on his part if he does so, because he would be betraying all his Brahminical community. So upon that dusty road on a night tilt April mind, and gave me a look, commandments crumbled in my father's past, her tumbled hair suddenly known as silk in my hangry hand. I shook a little and took her behind the laws of my land. So see, he says that till the first three stanzas he kept on dissuading, and he kept on pushing away the lady, he kept on pushing away the desires. Ladies, of course, desires personified. So he keeps pushing away this prostitute, this lady, and he says that he cannot indulge in any kind of such activity because he is very righteous, because he is a Brahmin, because he is born in such class and caste that he cannot commit such sin. He can only marry and produce legitimate sons. This adultery he cannot commit. But then at that night, at the time of April, when she gave that look, his commandments came crumbling down. His traditional values came crumbling down. All are shattered in his father's past. So the traditions are the burden of the past, which are now which he now gets rid of. And that hair in the very beginning that he had caught her and had tried to push away, that hair has now turned in the form of silk in his hands. So now he is enjoying, relishing it in somewhat or the other sense. And he shook a little to his very core. Earlier he was shaking, he was shuddering at his bone, thinking about committing a sin, and now again he is shuddering because of the passion that has overpowered him. And he took her away behind the laws of my land. So all the laws of the land, all the traditions that were bestowed on him, all his conservativeness, it dies, and the traditional values that were inculcated in him from his very childhood fails at the hands of the carnal desires. So that is the gist about this poem. I'm sure you all must understood it. If yes, then please don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment. Thank you.